We get a lot of crypto questions. Mostly it's, what's the hype with crypto? That's because many believe crypto will impact the world the same way the internet did in the 90s. We also get asked, what are ISO20022 coins? That's because some in leading industries have been discussing the global impact this compliance will have on the world. So I put together some videos I found online of conferences, summits, and interviews from MasterCard, KPMG, XRP, XLM, and more, to assist us in understanding some of the hype. Oh, and if this is your first time hearing about any of this, just remember where you first heard about Web3. What is Web3? It's the next version of the World Wide Web. As this video is being uploaded in 2024, the majority of the world is still using Web 2.0. In 2025, we will witness the start of Web 3 being implemented on a global scale. The original Web 1.0 was implemented in the 1990s, then came Web 2.0 and disrupted everything. It's considered a disruptor because it disrupted sectors that failed to update their internet. With the implementation of Web 2, the world witnessed the creation of iPhones and Android-powered smartphones. Web 2 enabled the dominance of apps that greatly expanded online interactivity like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, WhatsApp, and YouTube, just to name a few. Web 3.0 has the potential to be equally disruptive, if not more so. This next phase of the World Wide Web will utilize blockchain technology and AI. Think about the transition from a pager or a flip phone to a smartphone. Well, 2025 is about to show us what it will look like when major international banks and organizations upgrade their internet to Web 3.
You've been very vocal about, you think this is as transformative, crypto, as the internet was in the late 90s when it first came into being.
The internet was a distributed network that allows people to transmit information. And blockchain is a distributed network that allows people to store and transfer ownership, assets. I have the conviction for that vision to realize itself, the financial industry needs to come on board. There is no other way. There is no other way for blockchain and these business models to go mainstream without the financial industry.
To convey just how much capital there is behind this regulatory dam.
Because there is trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars on the sideline that's just waiting for some clarity.
The entire crypto ecosystem is like 2.5 trillion.
We're talking about a major transformation potentially of capital markets infrastructure that affects all types of entities across the value chain.
Right, bank deposits, stocks, and bonds. $400 trillion.
That's not going to come easily or quickly, right?
Think about the opportunity, how we get to beyond the 1 trillion. I would start with private asset space is a $290 trillion market around the world.
I'm not going to say all of this money is going into crypto, but quite a lot of it will end up in crypto.
It's pretty easy to understand that we are clearly in this fourth turning. We are in a time of epic change. We are in a time of turmoil and chaos.
Because the world will be radically different in 5 years. And then with the new technologies, we're going to go, it's like going through a time warp. We're going to be in a different world.
24 is a very, very important year, in my opinion, when you look at the next 5, 10 years, 15-year trajectory going forward, particularly when you look at the sectors, within that digital infrastructure. These are all spaces that are undergoing a massive transformation. I would say a profound transformation that today, when we look back in 10 years, we will look at 2024 and probably 2023 as really critical foundation years for a massive investment journey in these spaces, that investment institutions and countries, in this case, that took the right decisions in these two, in my opinion, critical years, 23, 24. 10 years from now, we'll look back I think, and we'll be very satisfied.
ISO 20022 and instant payments are accelerating payments modernization and serving as a catalyst for growth and innovation.
Banks are in the process of up-tiering their payments ecosystems to meet the ISO 20022 industry mandate, and also beginning to consider how they can leverage the additional ISO 20022 data to drive new value-added services for their customers and additional revenue opportunities.
Yeah, to explore this in more detail, we are joined right now by Courtney Trimble, Global Head of Payments at KPMG. Courtney, welcome.
Thank you.
Curious, what is the current state of play when we are talking about ISO 20022 and we're taking a look at the global landscape?
So, first of all, ISO 20022 is a watershed moment in the payments industry, a global mandate across all financial institutions globally. So some jurisdictions have gone live, such as the UK and EU. some still to go live, such as the U.S., which goes live next March 2025. And then the SWIFT coexistence period completes in November 2025. So we have been very, very busy with helping institutions globally meet the global ISO 20022 mandate. So we started this journey about 5 years ago with the large transaction banks that have multiple jurisdictions in play and are still helping a lot of the smaller regional banks as well. So the focus has squarely been on the mandate and hitting that. The next focus is really, how do you benefit from this? How do you benefit from the incremental data? So that will be a next step and something that we're starting to look at as well.
Broadly speaking, why is this ISO so important to the industry, would you say?
It's first of all, everyone is speaking now with ISO 20022 a global language. Right now you have proprietary formats in each country. ISO is a common global business language, so we'll all be speaking the same language.
Yeah.
So payments platforms, we recently did a study, 79% with Fortune 500 executives, CEOs, and the findings came that 79% of all banks will be modernizing multiple payment types over the next several years, and specifically with respect to ISO 20022 and high-value payments, 63% of banks are currently modernizing or will be modernizing their high-value wires platform. So certainly this is serving as the catalyst for change in payments modernization.
I mean, there's no doubt that's incredible, but of course it comes with the challenges and the obstacles. What are those that banks have to overcome right now?
The challenges right now, and what we've been working on for the past 5 years, is this change impacts the entire payments ecosystem. Yeah. Everything from the payments processing layer to your upstream and downstream interfacing systems to your integration layers. It's really that payments message moves throughout the payments ecosystem. So it's really getting a handle on that, looking at what are the impacts across the entire payments ecosystem, and then, how big is the bread box, if you will, in terms of what I need to worry about, and then the enablement, which we're heavily working on now.
You touched on the impacts. What is the knock-on effect then of ISO 20022 influencing sort of the broader payments modernization, shall we say?
It's having a huge impact on payments modernization. The two things that are really driving payments modernization and the impacts on that are, first of all, the move to instant payments, the move to a 24/7, 365 high availability environment, and second, the move to ISO 20022.
So what are some ISO 2022 coins?
We're here with Brad Garlinghouse. He is the CEO of Ripple and famous for XRP. A lot of folks don't know about you all if you're not a person immersed in crypto. Tell us about Ripple and tell us about XRP.
So Ripple started years ago with this macro vision of how do we enable an internet of value? How do we let value move the way information moves today? We think about how easy it is to send an email to anyone in the world or a text message. Not that many years ago, that was not so easy. And you wrote a handwritten letter and it received 3 or 4 days later in the mail. And money, in some ways, is the same. Today, moving money between networks, you can't send money from PayPal to Venmo, let alone you talk about cross-border international payments. The friction is high, the cost is high. Ripple aspires to really enable that internet of value to let value move seamlessly across borders, pay anyone, anytime, anywhere, just like sending an email. And I think we will see that future by leveraging technologies like crypto.
So what's the mission of your company? What do you want to do? How do you want to change the world or impact it?
Well, we think by unlocking those kind of economic borders, the friction that exists today, by unlocking that, you open up opportunities for entrepreneurs, for even the people who want to send money home to anywhere you may have come from in, pick your country in South America. And so we think by doing that, you're giving people opportunity, economic freedom. You're inviting them into, people who are unbanked can become more banked. Partly because you're simply reducing costs, but partly also there's some people who can hold crypto and transact that don't have a bank account, and that's okay. So we think that by kind of moving the world forward, we're rewiring financial infrastructure in a way that's good for society.
Brad, is that a compliment that Ripple could be the next Bitcoin?
Well, I think if we're solving a real problem and it's at scale, then I think it's a compliment. I think the most important thing that is going on in crypto is understanding what is real and what is just hype. Some, I think, may look back on Bitcoin and find that it was the Napster of digital assets. What I mean by that is Napster was the first to digitize music and demonstrate, hey, if you digitize music, you can do a lot of cool things with that. But ultimately, they were circumventing trademark laws, they were circumventing royalty payments, and government stepped in, and Napster was not successful. But Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, they were very successful. I think what you'll find is that maybe the next generation of digital assets ends up solving some of the original problems that Bitcoin set out to solve. So back to your question, is XRP the next Bitcoin? If we work with the system to solve this problem, and we can solve that problem at scale, a problem measured in the trillions of dollars, then there's a lot of opportunity to create value in XRP.
But how can there be clarity on regulation when different countries are adopting different strategies when it comes to regulation? And the other thing as well is volatility. I mean, why use a cryptocurrency when it's so volatile right now?
Yeah, so look, it's a really important question. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. I've kind of jokingly suggested that when people talk about regulatory uncertainty, it's often people because they don't like the regulation. They're not actually regulatory uncertainty. If you think about the XRP transaction from one regulated financial institution, a bank or payment provider, they're doing what's called a KYC check, which references Know Your Customer. This is a global regulatory framework around KYC. That's at both endpoints of an XRP transaction, into and out of. So I think the regulatory certainty actually is much better than people realize. It's just educating banks, regulators about how it actually works. Now, the volatility point is also a good one. XRP has clearly been volatile, as all digital assets have been. The nature of how an XRP transaction works, though, it's 1,000 times faster than Bitcoin. So the volatility risk you're taking around XRP is only for 3 seconds. So the volatility risk ends up being very, 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 very small because it's so fast.
For XRP, you've been looking at banks. If you take a longer term period, who else are you targeting for XRP? What would make sense?
Well, I think any payment provider, we're really trying to solve that cross-border payment transaction. So if you're going, we talked earlier about the US dollar to the Mexican peso. It's one of the corridors we have live with XRP today. You can hold a US dollar, sell that dollar and buy XRP. In 3 seconds, you can move that XRP to Mexico and then sell the XRP and buy the Mexican peso. Whether you're a bank, a payment provider, eventually even corporates can take advantage of a dramatic decrease in cost and a dramatic increase in speed and how those transactions work.
All right, Brad, RippleNet is trying to take on SWIFT. What's been the traction like? Who's come on board?
Well, it's interesting as you step back and look at this. If you and I decided we were going to send $10,000 to California today, the fastest way for us to do it would be to drive to the airport and fly it there. That's a crazy thing to think about when you're in the age of the internet and we're used to information on demand. When we think about the customers that have come on board, it's because we're solving that real problem. We're changing the nature of a payment taking days to settle to California to seconds. So we now have well over 100 customers ranging from some of the biggest banks in the world to payment providers to the Western Unions and MoneyGrams, Linland Pay out of China.
How many banks?
It's over 100. I actually don't know the exact number now. Last time we announced it publicly, we said over 100. We'll probably announce the next one when we get to over 200. We're signing up more than a bank a week now.
The thing is, it's not the number of banks. It's the volume
For sure.
out there. What kind of volume are you looking at?
Well, we've had one that we can talk publicly about. Is we have one corridor run by SEB, which is one of the first or second largest bank in Sweden, has done over $1 billion USD equivalent through one corridor. So while on the global macro scale, we're still just getting started. I think we're on mile 1 of a marathon, but we've crossed that starting line. This is real activity in production systems where customers are really benefiting from that. We clearly have a long way to go, and the overall maturity of the digital asset market I think has a long way to go. But if we keep going back to let's focus on a real problem and solve a real problem for real customers, I'm really optimistic.
What we believe will happen is that most market makers in filling out the world of exchanging value from anything of value, again, currencies, merchant reward points, airline miles, gold, silver, anything that you define as value, most people will actually, most market makers will use XRP. Because as a currency without a counterparty, it is a completely unique thing in the protocol, just like Bitcoin is completely unique. So again, our view of why math-based currencies are so valuable isn't necessarily that they replace existing currencies, it's just that they have a very unique feature in that they have no counterparty. So the whole world, the world only has to think about one thing when it comes to Bitcoin or Ripple, is the price in any microsecond in time. You never have to think about the counterparty risks. It turns out that is a completely unique thing that's never existed before.
No, it's very simple. So I think one thing, if there is one message that you can get in this room is Ripple is not an ordinary company. We are not here to make us have a small market share or do X, do Y, and make small amount of money or something to happen. We are here to make a dent in the universe. Either we will change the remittance universe, the way you understand, the way value gets transferred across the world, between people, between institutions.
Stellar's different because we have a slightly different lens on things, and we're creating those everyday financial services for the folks that are the global majority, frankly, the ones that are out there and larger than our numbers, but don't either have access to all the tools that we do or have chosen that banking isn't really for them. They don't want to be banked for some reason, or maybe they can't be, and so they've chosen this as a way to get them there. That is sort of the world that we look at when we build. And so I think competition is necessary, important. We don't want to end up with the same kind of software that we have today for traditional financial infrastructure. It doesn't allow for borders to be breached, and it doesn't allow for things to be able to move smoothly. And I think if we don't have competition, that's where we end up again. So I love the competition. I think we're best, but I want us to have somebody out there.
Just like the underpinnings of the internet, it is ready and available for use to anyone. Importantly, and especially in the context of this hearing, Stellar was designed for asset issuance, making it possible to create, send, and trade digital assets backed by nearly any form of value. And also is designed with compliance tools built in to help those asset issuers meet their own compliance obligations. The Stellar platform is a pioneer of tokenization, optimized for fiat-backed asset issuance before stablecoin was even a word. And over the last few years, an ecosystem of businesses and users have built use cases around Stellar-based stablecoins due to their incredible utility to solve many of the problems we see in today's payment landscape. Despite the headlines, What's happening in the world with blockchain, with cryptocurrency and stablecoins is not just lending, trading, and borrowing. Other use cases are active and focused on solving real-world challenges using the technology.
Help us understand the last mile of delivery for these refugees here. What happens when they do get the monies in stablecoin? What is the ultimate way that they're able to use that in a local currency?
Yeah, I mean, the perfect world someday is that they'll just be able to leverage these stable coins down at merchants. And this is something that actually the Ukraine is working on itself, which it's called the Transparent Network, and they're working on being able to deliver it that way. But right now, what happens is the refugee receives a text message from the UNHCR, says you're eligible to receive aid. That refugee then downloads the wallet that is recommended by the UNHCR. And that once they put in their KYC information, so their know your customer, so all their details, they then have the aid right there in their wallet. They can make some choices at that point. They can say, okay, I'm just going to hold this right now because I don't want to go out. It's not safe for me to go out, or it's not the right time. Or they can actually go down to a MoneyGram location and they cash out into the local currency. They can cash out into local currency no matter where they are. So if they're in Poland, for example, versus Ukraine, they can still cash out there into Polish currency. Or they can, with MoneyGram, that there's an easy way for them to just put it directly into their bank account if they have a bank account. So it's converting right now into the local fiat, either in the bank account or into true fiat at MoneyGram. And then the refugee gets to be able to leverage it for whatever they choose. But there are many wallets out there that allow end users to be able to pay bills, to be able to make merchant payments to some locations. So there's a lot of it's not just promise, there's opportunity here for this to progress further and further.
Another ISO20022 coin we want to discuss is Hedera's HBAR coin. HBAR, XLM, and XRP are primarily designed to be used for fast, low-cost cross-border transactions. HBAR aims to provide a platform for diverse applications like smart contracts, file storage, and decentralized finance. All coins aim to solve similar problems in the financial sector. One unique thing about Hedera is the primary governance mechanism for HBAR is a decentralized Hedera Governing Council composed of a diverse group of organizations from various industries. As you can see on the screen, the Hedera Council consists of organizations like IBM, LG, and Google. Those are just 3 out of about 39 independent organizations, including enterprises, Web3 projects, and universities, providing a broad range of perspectives. They do this to ensure no single entity has too much control over the network's development and operations. This is to promote transparency, community involvement, and fairness. This council oversees the network's evolution and decision-making processes, and all of the council's activities are publicly accessible, allowing for transparency and accountability. Congress created the Federal Reserve in 1913 to be the United States Central Bank. Its purpose is to ensure the safety of the U.S. banking system and promote a stable and flexible financial and monetary system. The Federal Reserve is considered independent because it controls its own budget, and its decisions don't need to be approved by any other government official. However, it is subject to congressional oversight and must work within the framework of the government's monetary and fiscal policy objectives. What you see on the screen is the Federal Reserve's FedWire. FedWire is a real-time electronic funds transfer system that allows financial institutions to send and receive money. FedWire is used for large-value, time-critical payments, such as settling commercial payments and positions with other financial institutions, submitting federal tax payments, and buying and selling federal funds. Just to put into perspective how much money the Fed settle in just commercial payments alone, they processed approximately 26.5 trillion payments through its National Settlement Service in 2023. The FedWire Funds service will transition to ISO20022 on March 10, 2025. This means that all U.S. financial institutions will need to use this ISO messaging format for domestic and cross-border payments. This messaging format will replace the existing FedWire application. The goal of the transition is to make wires easier to process and reduce manual intervention. So, do you think countries moving trillions of dollars through the ISO 2022 messaging format will impact those ISO coins in a prosperous way? And is the implementation of ISO 2022 the catalyst to the new internet era? I guess we will find out soon enough. Newsweek in 1995 said internet? Bah! and then gave a hype alert on why cyberspace isn't and will never be nirvana. Then in 2000, the Daily Mail said, "Internet may be just a passing fad as millions give up on it." Now I ask you, where would the world be without the internet? It's not too late. No matter what time you want to get started, just get started. Many believe owning ISO20022 coins can be beneficial to generational wealth, which is why there is a lot of hype. As you saw from earlier, one way or another, blockchain will impact the future. We feel it will be the same way the internet impacted the world in the 90s. So, are you ready to own crypto? As always, keep doing your own research and only invest what you can afford to lose. This is not financial advice. We are not financial advisors. But if we were to buy, suggest dollar cost averaging into ISO20022 assets, $20 a check would be a perfect way to get started. Just spread that $20 out amongst all the coins monthly. For example, $5 on XRP, $5 on XLM, HBR, and so on. Think of this as your very own 401k. This is a seed being planted today for a bountiful harvest in the future. Coinbase and Robinhood are just two U.S. exchanges that allow you to do recurring purchases. They aren't the only ones, however, we've found them to be user-friendly and available in both app stores. Research crypto exchanges to see which is best for your needs. Not all exchanges have all coins. Before we go, we also get asked about meme coins. Remember, crypto investing is very volatile. Meme coins are even riskier. But if you want to take the leap of faith into meme coins, we suggest looking into Shiba Inu, Peppa, and the OG meme coin, Doge. All three have really good communities, which is the point of meme coins. It's not about shareholders or earnings calls. It's about the collective coming together for something bigger. Infinite prosperity and abundance to all on this crypto path. Don't be intimidated by the entry price of any ISO20022 coin or be intimidated by how much a coin has already gone up. Take your time, do your research, and ease into your position. Remember, we are early in Web3 implementation. This is only the beginning. Rather, it's a fraction of a coin, or a whole coin. Ownership is ownership. Also, we will never send anyone a private message about investing, so be mindful and safe out there. And again, infinite prosperity and abundance to all on their journey.